Hello, happy summerween. It is in fact July 8th, which is 3 days after summerween has started. I wasn't going to film anything for summerween, but summerween videos have started coming out and I've been watching them and I've been like, damn, I wish I could be reading for summerween right now. And in theory I am reading for summerween because for my next video that you'll see, I'm currently reading this and I have a few other kind of similar books in that video. But I was just like, I don't have it in me to be reading summerween stuff right now. I have a video that I want to focus on, and that's it. Like, I'm not distracting myself from it. But then I was like, well, if I was going to read something for summerween, what could I even read? I have books on my shelves, don't get me wrong, I absolutely do. But nothing's jumping out to me, and some of them are a little bit bigger, and I'm not interested in doing that right now because I'm doing another video. So I decided to have a little look about what was available at the library, and I somehow have pulled 5 things to read. Hear me out. 3 of them are graphic novels, 2 of them are short story collections. So they all feel doable in the next, how many days? 4 days? 3 graphic novels, easy peasy. They are really, I can read them in one sitting, no problem. I probably should tell you what they are. This is not planned out. I am literally half in my pyjamas. I just got up to film this because I was like, if I don't do it now, then I have to do it tomorrow when I've probably already finished 2 graphic novels. And then you're like, Kim, why didn't you just film this yesterday? Anyway, so graphic novels, bear with. The first is After the Rain, which is apparently an adaptation of Nnedi Okorafor's short story, I think called On the Road. It follows a lady who ends up with a strange boy who is severely injured turning up at her door, and she kind of just has to deal with that. The next and final graphic novel is called In Utero by Chris Gooch. This is described as Akira meets Aliens and Annihilation meets Evangelion. Not all of those things I have watched. I've watched maybe like 1 episode of Evangelion ever, but I do like Annihilation, the book and the film, and it just seemed like my kind of vibe. It mentions dark horrors in this spooky summer camp. Yeah, in a spooky summer camp. And so again, a quick short graphic novel that could be good to read. In terms of my short story collections, the first I actually attempted to start reading a couple of months back, and then the video that I was kind of planning on reading fell through. So that's The Wishing Pool and Other Short Stories by Tanana Reeves-Dew. It's a bunch of horror stories. I'm always looking to read more Tanana Reeves-Dew. I read The Reformatory last year and I really liked it. When I'd seen it before, it was off the back of watching Riley's video where she was reading it, and I just so happened to look up what was available for me to access at the library, and it was available, and then I never ended up getting around to reading it, and so it just so happened to be available again. So I think it's fate, personally. I think it's fate. And then finally is Ghost Routes by Pemi Aguda. This one I have heard good things about from Ali, but it's one that I'd seen floating around, and again I saw that it was available and thought I would pick it up. That is my short and sweet TBR for this entirely library driven summerween video. I didn't plan for this. Will this even go up? I don't know. This is gonna be chaotic. Enjoy. Good morning. You're in my kitchen cupboard. It is, I can't read the time backwards, 7:45. I am getting ready to go to work, but I thought I would update you whilst I'm at my breakfast on In Utero and the first 3 stories in the Ghost Routes book. So In Utero was a really quick young adult, I would say. I hope you can hear me after this. I'm having Cocoa Pops, by the way, in case you're interested. Graphic novel which follows our main character named Hayley. It takes place in a time after this kind of catastrophic incident has caused a crater in Australia, and no one really knows what's caused it, and she ends up getting sent to this summer camp, and so her summer camp is in this basically what should be an abandoned old mall, which has some strange things in it, and she ends up meeting some new mysterious person who kind of leads her away from everyone else, and at the same time we also get the point of view of these scientists, because they have been called in because this place has basically been condemned, and so there is kind of 2 things happening at the same time. I did really like that it was one of the graphic novels that does colour really well. So colour in the kind of real world is mostly blue, white and black and grey, whereas we have these moments that have this red colour to it, similar to like Emily Carroll, who does colour really well as well. I think it really defines the two kind of perspectives, I guess, that we're getting. I thought it was a fairly good read. As I said, it's a quick read. Like, I knew that the graphic novels would be quick, so I'm glad that I did decide to go for graphic novels. And yeah, that was In Utero. Ghost Roots, I read the first 3 stories. The first one, so I know that these are kind of horror adjacent. I wouldn't really say that these are all completely horror stories. So the first one is more of a horror. This woman is essentially kind of, it's almost like a reincarnation possession story, and so it's kind of, it's horror light, I would say, in that she's doing some pretty horrific things, but there is a question of, is she possessed, is she not possessed, is she, you know, the reincarnation of this person. The second one I wouldn't really say is a horror, like, at all. It's more like, you know, it's the horrors of life, except it's not really horror. It's more about a woman dealing with her relationship with her partner and their new baby, and how she's been betrayed by him in the past, and so basically how they can kind of connect over the new baby. And so I wouldn't really call that one a horror one at all. But the next one has been my favourite so far. I think it was called Contributions, I think, and it's 5 pages. I really can't tell you much about it other than the fact that, because otherwise I'll obviously spoil everything. It's a group of women who, instead of a bank, they contribute money and then they can loan that out to a person, and that's kind of what they do, except that if people can't pay their dues for the month, they take something until they pay back their dues. And I did like that one because it is kind of one of those things where you think, whoa, this is kind of crazy, as it kind of goes on, and then you actually think it's kind of contemplating life. So I really like that one. Plan for today is to read some more short stories, also probably finish another graphic novel. I have a whole day of work ahead of me, so after that then I will be doing reading. Maybe I can bang out 2 graphic novels today. I still have to read for my other video, but we'll see how I'm feeling later. I'm going to eat my breakfast now. Eagle-eyed watchers / eagle-eared listeners might have noticed in the beginning I said there was 5 things that I was planning on reading, but I only spoke about 4, and that's because I've just now realised that one of the graphic novels that one of the books I thought was a graphic novel is not. It's actually a book, so I've chopped that out of the intro. No worries, I found something else to replace it, so I'll be reading Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, which is about anthropomorphic animals who kill people. I don't know. It's kind of got a really cutesy cover, as you can see, and I've seen it around before, but I just spotted that and I thought I would give it a try. In other news, I finished After the Rain by Nnedi Okorafor. I really like the art style. It's a really vivid, bright art. I think it's drawn really nicely. It's obviously based off of her short story, and so there isn't a lot of text because it's obviously a very short story. It's a shorter than usual graphic novel as well. Like, on my iPad it was only coming up about 140 pages, and so we follow this lady who is Nigerian American, and she's gone back to Nigeria and is spending some time with her family, and encounters this boy who, she opens the door to this boy who's really badly injured, and it freaks her out, and then strange things start to happen, and it's a lot about questioning sense of self, and kind of your identity, especially as someone who is Nigerian American, so feeling connected to the Nigerian part of her, but being seen as someone who is American and not necessarily Nigerian American by those in Nigeria. So it's a fairly decent read. I would give it 3 stars. I think I said, I don't know if I did say, I would do the same for In Utero. I also read a few more stories from Ghost Roots. My highlight one, I think, out of the ones that I've read since, was In the Hollows, I think it's called. It's kind of a haunted house story, but not completely. It's got a sentient house in it, we shall say that. I just really like the writing of that one, and I really like the way it kind of transcended 3 generations, to kind of talk about the different things that a home can mean to people. What other updates do I have for you? I think that's it. 2 graphic novels down, 1 more to go. 3 more short stories left in Ghost Roots, and then I need to read The Wishing Pool and Other Stories, which is a little bit bigger, but I think the bonus with short stories is that you can kind of read them in bursts, and then it feels less like you're reading like something really chunky because you're reading like, you know, 20, 30, 40 pages at once for each short story. That is my update for now. I will check in with you later. New angle, because if I just sat down in the same place, you would think that I hadn't moved since the last time I spoke to you. But I have now finished Gertrude's. I'm giving it a 3.5 overall. I think that some of the stories were, like I said, I really liked. I really liked the one about the moneylending. I really liked the one about the haunted sentient house. I think that they were very horror light. I think it's not really a horror book, but there is definitely a lot of magical realism. There's also a lot of kind of questions that are quite existential about identity and about the trust that maybe that you put in other people. And so I do recommend it if you're looking at reading a short story collection. I don't tend to read it a lot, and it sounds ironic that I'm going to try and read two for this video. One of the prompts in the Our Fantasy Bingo each year is to read either 5 short stories or an anthology, or the hard mode is you can read an anthology, and I tend to just read the anthology because I think it is easier to kind of knock out 5 short stories instead of having to individually read 5 random short stories. Although obviously lots of magazines publish a lot of short stories, and so I already had one in mind actually that I was planning to read, but I can always obviously use this if I wanted to cross it off, because my bingo card theme for this year is BIPOC authors, as it will be going forward. It was last year, and so obviously Pemi Ogunda is a Nigerian author, so it would work for that square. The same way that Tiana Riju would work, and also the collection that I'm planning on using would work. So that is my update for now. I have 2 things left to read for this. See, I literally started planning this video like 24 hours ago. Not even 24 hours ago, I think, that I filmed the introductory clip. So graphic novels, okay, and at least it gets my summerween fix sorted, because I just wanted to be involved. So Beneath the Trees Where No One Sees is horrifying. 4 stars. The artwork is really good. It's obviously I cannot say that word, anthropomorphic animals, and so, you know, the main character's a bear, there's a pig, there's like a little mole, and there's all these different creatures, and the expressions on their faces are just so human. The bear is okay, plot, let me tell you the plot. The plot is that there's this main character named Samantha Strong, who's a bear, and she's a Dexter-esque character who is killing people, except she doesn't do it locally, she does it out of town because she is trying not to get found out, essentially. But someone does start killing locally, and it happens in a very public way, and so people are really on edge because people are just dying quite quickly, and so she wants to figure out who it is because it's putting her at risk if she doesn't solve the problem, because she kills people, and so she needs to figure it out. But the looks on this bear's face, like you know that look like when you would be side-eyeing someone or staring at someone, like there's this moment where someone sneezes, and you'll see if that's relevant if you read it, but potentially that person could be linked to who the killer is, because of something that was said earlier. And they make eye contact across all these people, and just the way that they're like looking at each other, like I was like, oh, like I can't describe to you how creepy it is, especially, and it is gory as well, I will say, like fairly early on. I mean throughout, but you are seeing the images of like these dead characters, so there is a gore element to it, but like it's really well illustrated, and I was just sat there the whole time like. So recommend, absolutely. There is also a sequel because it's like a comic series, so the volume I read was volume 1. There is a volume 2 that I think has just started to be released, that is set a little bit later, and again follows Samantha as she's trying to solve some things, because I think that she needs to try and protect herself essentially from being caught. So I recommend it. Trigger warning going in for the graphicness of it. I did start one story from the wishing pool, but unfortunately my car had some issues yesterday, and so I didn't end up getting to read as much as possible because I got home a little bit later. I did finish work early today though, so I'm hoping to read some more today and tomorrow, because that's the end of summerween. It finishes tomorrow, so as much as the wishing pool that I can read tonight and tomorrow, that's the plan. And then hopefully you'll see this video probably on Sunday, which is, you know, at which point summerween's over. But hey, I contributed and I wasn't expecting to, so I have read some more. I've read the first part of The Wishing Pool and Other Stories. So I thought I'd just tell you what my highlights were, because it's kind of hard when you're describing short stories. Sometimes I run through what they all are about and sometimes I don't. And I never know what to do because I feel like you're telling too much about a short story. So I think going forward, I'm just going to do my highlights unless it's like a really super focused video. So from part one, there are 6 stories. My kind of 2 favourites, I guess, were The Haint in the Window and Dancing. The Haint in the Window it's a tale of police brutality, and it reflects on a guy who has taken over this black-owned bookshop and how he has kind of tailored it over the years to start including more non-black authors, but he kind of is realising that actually that's not what he wants to do. It's not what the bookshop was set up to do. So he's making changes, and it seems like there's this haint kind of around. He has an encounter with this police officer who just rubs him up the wrong way, and it kind of is revolving around that. I just liked that one. And then the last one that I just read, called Dancing, which is kind of a curse, and I just found that one to be quite interesting as well. We have them all split. I think there's 4 sections total, so I am, I think, just over 40% of the way through now, so 39% to be precise. So I need to finish it today, really, because today is actually the last day of summerween. So I'm either going to finish it today or I'm going to read a majority of it today, finish it tomorrow morning, and then you'll see this video on Sunday evening. Well, it's officially the 13th of July, so technically one day post summerween, but I did have to finish the final part. I've read 2 other parts last night, but I finished part 4 of The Wishing Pool and Other Stories this morning. So this is speed run of me giving this review, editing this video and getting it out today. It's happening. So just to go through, there was 4 parts. The first part, I think I said Haint in the Window and Dancing were my favourites, and then part 2 is the Gracetown stories. I really liked all those stories. I thought they were my favourite kind of selection from the entire collection. But one of my favourites, I think, was Supper Time. This one dealt a lot with people who were kind of just facing different scenarios. Again, elements of police brutality, to none of do obviously rights, black characters who are experiencing black things. And so we have some who are encountering this really racist old lady, for example, or someone who is thought to have been possessed by a demon. But Supper Time was my favourite, and I really like how they're slightly interconnected, because it seems like there's mentions of other stories throughout the other stories. So Supper Time features a swamp leech, and later on someone else mentions swamp leeches, and how they come after children or something like that. And so I did like that one quite a bit. Then part 3 is the Naima stories, and these 2 are set with the same character but like a series of however many decades apart. And so those ones were kind of like 2 different times in this woman's life where she's dealing with different circumstances, and they are kind of linked together, but they show her when she's fairly young and what she's experiencing in this kind of plague and illness time. And then we have a moment later in life where the world has changed since she was young, and what she's dealing with. And then the final part is Future Shock, which again deals with quite futuristic stories, and again they seem to all be linked together. I don't know if these are specifically linked to the Naima stories, but there is a kind of thread of illness and post-pandemic society, and it's interesting because at the note at the end it talks about how some of these were published before. Not all of these were written before post 2020, sorry, and so it's interesting to kind of know like the kind of just themes, I guess. But it talks a lot about disease. It talks a lot about the lengths that people have to go to try and protect themselves in a society where they are still being ostracised potentially because of the thought that they are carriers of a disease. And then the final one I think is a pretty fitting close to the story, because it's about telling someone else's story, and also I guess again to do with disease and society and what maybe you do in a post-pandemic society. So yeah, I'm giving the collection a 4 in total. I really did like it. I thought that it was well written. I'm really excited to read more of Tanana Ritu's work. And that brings me to the end of Summerween. I read 5 things. 4 of them were from the library. The only one that wasn't was Beneath the Trees Where No One Sees. And I'm really glad, because I've been a little bit slacking on reading my library books this year. Last year I was all over Libby. But this year I've been reading a lot more of my ebooks, physical books, which is not necessarily a problem because I'm getting through that TBR. But I'm glad to be reading a few more things from the library. That's it from me. Very random and unprompted Summerween video. I'm trying to rush through this because it's so warm today and I'm sweating. I might as well just maybe if I just stand like this. I don't know how well you can hear me, but I kind of need it to just cope. Yeah, I think that's my closing speech anyway. I don't have anything else to say, I don't think. See you next Winterween or Summerween, and in a few weeks with my next video.